Heritage family. This is Mr. Gay, principal and founder of Heritage Christian School, and I'm very grateful for that God has called me to start Heritage Christian School back in 2007. As I look back and reflect, the challenges, the victories, the struggles, everything combined together, we can always point back that God has been faithful through it all. I'm videotaping from my home, and I want to share with you because this is our home and you are Heritage, our second home, not because of the time we spend there, but because we consider Heritage our home as well. And certainly as I share, it chokes me up to and let you know about that story. Many of you have been a part of that story for many years. Some of you have joined us along the way. You'll hear from some of those people that have been with us from the very beginning. In 2007, when we experienced probably one of the worst recessions in decades. And as I went to some of our most trusted friends and said, God is leading me to start an independent Christian school, I'll never forget the words that they said. And that was, we want to be a part of that. I am indebted to those friends and those trusts that became trustees. Without them, this could not be possible. God brought the right people at the right time to establish a phenomenal school.
Mr. Gay came to me and said, I feel like God is calling me to start an independent Christian school. And having been in the ministry since 1981 and knowing what all that entails and starting 2 other Christian schools, but I felt a total peace about it. I knew that this is where God had us.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Lutman, Wendy Lutman, and I have been a teacher at Heritage Christian for 15 years. I am privileged and honored to be one of the first teachers at its inception 15 years ago. Previously, I had taught with Mr. Gay under his leadership at a different school. And so when the idea presented itself to begin a new school, I was excited. I really felt God's calling on my life to do this. And along with a few other teachers at the school, we were able to begin, very humble beginning.
My name is Nancy Duaifi, and I've been a member of the Heritage family since establishment in 2007. It was kind of a strange, out of the blue thing where Mr. Gay had asked me that he's thinking of creating a Christian school for the new generation, and he wanted me to be part of it. And I was very blessed and honored to have been asked to do so. We met several times, several evenings with a few families that believed in the vision, and solely based on faith and the vision that Mr. Gay had, which is really nourishing the new generation, the faith and Christ-centered education and environment. We decided to open the school without any kids, without a location, without financial backup. That's why I say at that point, I tell you there was no business plan. It was faithfully and trust on God's plan and vision that He had for us. And I tell you all along, we had a purpose, but definitely God had a plan for us already set to go.
A good friend of mine for over 35, 40 years came to check on Edie and I one day. And it was such a day I'll never forget, because he just came in to say hi and to check on us. Because those times were very difficult for us. And I began to share with him our vision that God had given to us about starting a school, an independent Christian school. And God used him and put the burden on his heart to pray about it. And about 3 days later, he came and said, look, I work at this church, and why can't you use their classrooms? And as a result, over the next several months, he was very instrumental in us having start Heritage Christian School at that church. Don Swaim has been a saint and a dear friend for many years, and he has gone to be with the Lord this past year. And it was God's faithfulness through his life that he facilitated all that and was able to get us started.
At the beginning of the school, we had a fairly small building and didn't have a lot of space to teach, and didn't have a lot of staff. And so we had to cover recess and snack breaks and any extra teaching like PE or art. Those were all things that we did as teachers at the beginning.
After school started, I have to recognize the fact that our first year was established by being challenged by the Lord as a young man came to us that was named Beloved. This, as you can see, I'm very emotional. This young man, over the span of 2 years, showed our school what God wanted from our school, because we took on this 16-year-old African boy that had a landmine explode in his face, and a dear friend brought him to us and said, this boy needs help, this boy needs spiritual healing, he needs nurture. Nurture, Beloved was responsible to put that word in our mission statement. Loving and nurturing environment. As we nurtured this young man from kindergarten, you imagine a 6-foot boy in kindergarten class, because he spoke very little English. We saw our whole, not only the kindergarten class, but our whole school embrace him. Another thing that God showed us that we wanted to do with students that came to our school and families is embrace them.
Wanted to create a safe space for these kids, a place where they felt loved and they felt cared for and they felt cherished, not just by us but by the Lord. And I hope and I pray that we've done that. You know, it's a beautiful thing. In South Orange County there are 100 different schools that you could choose to send your kids to, and the fact that we have created this beautiful little gem in the midst of all of these different schools, that I have students in my classroom today that, you know, their first language is Spanish or Japanese or Chinese and Korean. They come from all different parts of the world and they bring all of their culture and traditions with them, and we learn about each other, and it is beautiful to see. And the fact that these kids continue to feel safe is something that I cherish.
As we went to our middle years of Heritage Christian School, we saw that our school was growing and had a need for more facilities. A public school facility became available. We knew that it was going to take God and God's miracle for us, as a tiny school, to move into an 8-acre campus. The district came to us and said, are you still interested? And sure enough, God delivered a huge 8-acre campus to this tiny school.
We're feeling so blessed, and that came out of nowhere. With connection Mr. Gay had with the district and other people that knew him as a leader in the Christian education, we were thrilled. We actually walked in campus and we were in tears for how blessed we were with God's providing that location for us.
As a result, our as we moved to that campus, we had more than enough classrooms. And over the span of 4 years, our school grew over 3 times the amount. Into it 4 years, we saw God present another challenge to us. That school was needed back by the district as a surprise to us. We had no answers for that, but God did. Began the search to see where we could put this 300 plus student body at another location. And trust me, it was not easy.
The most difficult part of this journey was seeing the burden that was on my husband. He has very broad shoulders, but I'm telling you, just the emotional stress and the physical stress and the spiritual stress that was on him, and the responsibility that it took to do this, to start from nothing and make something out of nothing that is going to be honoring to the Lord. He is the most godly man I know. There were times when I would say, how are we going to do this? How is this going to happen? And he would always come back with, Edie, God has this. God will make a way. And so to see his faithfulness, even in the midst of the struggle, when sometimes we just didn't know how it was going to pan out. And even to this day, there have been struggles. My husband never wavered in his faith, and to see that struggle that he had, but yet always trusting in the Lord, has been such a witness to me. And I just can't imagine anyone else, honestly, being able to do what he's done these last 15 years. He is truly a man of God that trusts him wholeheartedly. And I'm so proud of him.
Being shocked to us and for the board and Mr. Gay. Okay, God, what is your plan for us now? We did not want to stop. We want to keep going on to spread that message and that vision that we had for the new generation. It was pretty tough, a lot of tears, a lot of fear, but also a lot of trust and commitment to this mission. And just we decided that giving up is not an option. When God made the school go forward that much, and we came to that point with nothing except based on faith, we thought God is really in it and we need to continue. And when we decided on that and we prayed about it, somehow God does show up a plan.
Knocked on doors and we knocked on doors and we sought locations and we looked at different places. Nothing seemed to open up. And God used my wife Edie to make a connection with somebody that she knew, and as a result led us here to Reverence Bible Church. And I cannot tell you how grateful I was when I first met Pastor Kevin. And his heart seemed very similar to mine, and loved Christian education, had his kids in Christian school, and it just really believed that it was God's hand upon this whole situation. As we looked at the size of the school, we decided that this would only be a location for part of the school. And so we made a decision to have our preschool through 6th grades at Reverence Bible Church. Even though we had secured our preschool through 6th, we're still looking for a place for our junior high school, 7th and 8th grade. And I want to thank Arbor Christian Fellowship, and we're so gracious to allow our junior high just weeks before we started school to allow us to use their classrooms. And as a result, we have more enrollment now than we had in that 8-acre facility.
And when we saw the campus, we were even more thrilled and we're more excited. Even though the other campus was a lot bigger, a lot nicer, with yards and places where it can be sports and things like that, we felt this is where God really wanted at this point. And like I said, His plan is not our plan, and His timing definitely not our timing. But trust just made this happen, and faith and believing that God is going to take us through.
Even when we didn't have space, we might have been really tight in our little classrooms, but we learned that as long as we had a place for students to sit, a chair and a desk, and we could fit a lot of students in a room, and it was all good.
I think all of us understand the struggles that the whole world has encountered, and certainly our country has as well. And as we look at the last several years, we have seen a tremendous growth in enrollment. Like I said, the enrollment is higher now than it's ever been, and our waiting lists are very large. And we are seeking God for continued direction for the future, to see how many more kids that we can minister to. And as we saw that whole COVID situation unfold before our eyes, I want to tell you that I am so proud to be part of a school that stood firm. The leadership and our trustees that counseled me to stand firm and do what God was leading me to do. And that's what we did.
A pandemic, God was faithful. And it was scary. We, without notice, had to learn very quickly how to teach remotely at home. And we were able to continue to keep Heritage going. And God was faithful in that and provided the funds that we needed. And come September, we opened our doors again, and we were just that safe harbor where families could send their children and they could come and feel like things were normal. And that was just a really blessed time. I believe God protected us, He provided for us, and we were able to make it through that difficult time in the history of our world.
As we go on, we have been able to share some of the best of times in all of our lives and some of the worst of times in all of our lives. But that's just it. We've all been together as God's people and continuing this kingdom education mission that God has called us to do.
So many memories, flashback of such great things. I look at our sports at our school that have been such a big part of our school, the wonderful athletes that God has brought us, the many championships that we have been able to accomplish, even as a small school, as we played schools that outnumbered us in enrollment 2 and 3 to 1. And God has given us favor in our sports, both at elementary level with several championships, and certainly probably the most successful junior high athletic program in the entire league.
I have loved going on all the trips, the Sky trip to Coloma and Yosemite, and the DC trip, and the Thanksgiving feasts and worship at chapel, and all the things that just make our school so special, prayer partners, and just the day-to-day being able to share Christ's love without hesitation. What an incredible place to teach.
My grandma had 16 grandchildren, and with those 16 grandchildren, she made us these amazing milkshakes, and she passed that recipe on down to me. So I decided it would be fun to start making milkshakes for the students at school. That has become such a major part of our school, is Miss Edie's milkshakes. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart that making those milkshakes are truly a gift of love. Because when I make those, I feel like God's just pouring His love out onto you. And it is a joy and it's a privilege to be able to do that for each and every student. That's just one of the many things that makes our school unique and special. I do have a secret ingredient.
Do tell.
They're made with love. They're truly made with love because, love does make all the difference.
I love that.
Heritage Christian School is about service. That is the heart of Heritage. Service to God's people through education. Now, as a teacher, it is such a blessing to see that our model has always been and will always be the Lord Jesus Christ. We are looking at following the Bible as our standard and being able to teach biblical truth each and every day.
This school is about love, it's about life. It is a place filled with light in a world where there's much darkness. And the living God is a part of Heritage Christian. He is not done.
I want to thank you for hearing this and being with us. And just remember, faith, commitment, and love is what makes this a lot better world.
Heritage feels like a home and a place for second chances. And I loved that. I loved that because I think of people like Beloved. I think of people like me. I have people, all the different students that have come from maybe not the greatest of circumstances. And they needed a second chance to be loved by God, to be loved by others, and to learn what it meant by to be truly unconditionally loved. And I think that's the best explanation for Heritage, is that love really does make all the difference.
I love our mission statement, seeking to glorify God through Christ-centered teaching, academic excellence, and Christian service, all in a nurturing and loving environment. That to me says what we try to do at Heritage Christian School every single day. My heart and my love and my passion for that will continue into the future as we are a school that believes in God, family, and country. And I truly believe that we will stand on the fact that God is our Lord and our faithful God, and love makes all the difference. I'm so grateful to be able to share, and there's so much more, such great stories of God's faithfulness throughout this whole 15 years that He has brought us Heritage Christian School. God bless you. Thank you to everyone that's made a difference here at this school, for every student that has been enrolled and impacted by Heritage Christian School, for every family that has dedicated and committed their children to our school, and for every teacher and educator and staff member that has served in this organization. I just want to thank you that together we celebrate God's faithfulness. God bless you.